Hi, I'm Euge Valovirta, and this one is about Audio Assault's Amplifier plugin. First, let's listen to a song where I already did that, I used several of the amplifiers, and then let's go through the plugin, some different presets I made and sounds and the plugin in general. Alright, rock and roll. Alright, this is Audio Assault's Amplifier, and like you saw and hopefully heard on the previous song that I used different amplifiers, and like I said, I first recorded while I filmed myself, it was this sound, the British gain, which is Marshall, and then I doubled that And then when I mixed the song, I just divided my performance to different tracks, and on all those tracks I had the amp blocker, but with the different amp. And there you go. The delay I used on the song for the solos, that was a GC Electronics D2, because that's just the way I mix stuff. But now let's go through the amp blocker, couple of presets I did, and a few, you know, things, tips and tricks. So it's like most amps in plugins nowadays. You have your preamp section, the whole amp, not just the amp's preamp, but global amp, what comes before the amp section, where you can add pedals. I had, you know, SD1 and noise gate like I do. Then the amp section, then cabinet section, and then the post section. Let's start with the pre section first. So, you know, I added a SD1, like I said, and the gate. I like gate before. As you can see, the gate here is closed. I don't like noise gates in the amp's effect loop or whatever. I guess this is rooted kind of in the amp's loop. To me, it just does something I don't like. I want the amp to roam free. So the gain on my amps, if I take the SD off, it's so little that there is no need. And you know, his is part of the charm, you know, rock and roll. Who wants to have a stereo, completely noiseless sound? You know, at least I don't. But I come from the analog days where there was his always everywhere, and that kind of smoothens things up, I think. Okay, so yeah, and then you can add 4 different pedals. There's a lot of different stuff. Your usual screamers, choruses, EQs, different drives, but this video would be too long if I would, you know, go this through all. I'm just gonna use the stuff that I know that I use in a real world. So the SD works pretty much like an SD1, and the gate it's a noise gate, you know. Then the amp section, then here you can choose different amps. There's a lot of different amps you can choose for, like insane amount. Cabinet section. And here, this works it's pretty realistic. So you can choose the cabinet. For this sound, this Marshall, I felt the Califier works best. I believe there's V30, at least it sounds very familiar, very V30-like. Here you can change microphones, your usual classics, Sennheiser ND421, AKG 414, Royer 121, Shure SM7B, and so on. And then with this knob, you can choose either angled or straight. I've always been a straight guy. Like, yeah. You know what I mean? That's just how I mic'd speakers always. Straight in. You know, that's just the way I do it. Cool. Let's check out some different cabinets, because cabinet, as you probably know, changes the tone the most. And the speakers. I don't know what here is, but based on the upper mid and bite and the more low end, I would guess this is something like a greenback. Cool. But my favorite, and there's a lot of cabinets, my favorite for this Marshall was the Califier. And then you can change the distance. This is just where I felt it sounded the best. No room sound. So you can add a nice room sound if you want, but I have it now dry. Then your volume and panning, all center, high pass filters, low pass filters. I had a little bit of low pass, aka high cut, around a little bit over 10K. no low cut, and here's the mix. Both are on equal level. Okay, then the amp kind of behaves like a real 800. This master control on this one is a bit interesting because, listen. At a certain point, it goes quieter, and I know what this is, at least what they are emulating, or I think, because after a certain point, when you dial a master, it gets louder, and then after a certain point, it only distorts more. It doesn't get louder. So this actually, it kind of goes a little quieter. It's a minor thing, because I think my sweet spot was around noon, which was a little bit quieter than here, which I actually preferred because it got loud really fast. That's just the, and you can use a global volume here, to even fine tune it. It's just a note to me, nothing major. But in general, the behavior is kind of like on a real amp, so it gets dirty. Like when you really crank the power juice, the amp starts to sag a little bit. And it opens. The way I set my master is just like this, where I feel that the power tubes are working a little bit, not too plexi style, but the sweet spot, so to say. And to me, with this amp, it's around noon. And then the post EQ, I didn't use this on the song because I used the SSL EQ, but I pretty much did similar stuff. So I boosted some 8K a little bit, cut some of the upper mids, then this one I don't think I did anything, no, for this. And then I cut some of the 500, this frequency out a little bit and boosted some 100 Hz. Pretty much what I did with the SSL. Cool. And then this delay, let me show you what the EQ does. It's very minor. It smoothens out a little bit of those evil upper mids and evil 500. And then I'm adding a bit bottom and top to compensate the kind of the loss. And then the delay is pretty cool. This delay is really cool. So there's 3 taps. I'm only using 2, kind of Van Halen setting, a bit under 400 and the other a bit under 800, feedback around 30 and width in center. So let me show the width now. So you can make the delay really wide or narrow. It's really good delay. I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, then the global settings on input, and then you can calibrate. So I have calibrated the input. I'm going to show you how you do it. Let's actually bypass the delay. Like this. And then let's calibrate it. I've already done it, but let's do it again. Okay, I'm not gonna do it because I've already calibrated. So basically you press this button and then it tells you what to do. So you basically an open E, palm muted and without palm muting. And it calibrates the input. So it calibrated my input to -5. Gate, like I said, I have it 0. And then this knob, because now I have the channel I'm using is a stereo channel, you know, to get the wide delay. And here you can choose left mono stereo or right mono stereo. So as you can hear, okay, right's not working, so let's use left. Then if I put a mono, the delay is in mono 2. If I switch to stereo. And left to mono stereo, this doesn't work. Or it's only on the left side, because it wants to see stereo in. But what I want to use is mono in, one cable. So the cable goes to the audio interface. Now I have the stereo delay. Great. And here's your tuner. Yeah, works great. MIDI, you know, editor, if you want to use this live, like with a laptop, and then if you have, you know, click track or something, you can program this or your computer and this plugin to follow the MIDI commands, like, you know, like, okay, this clean sound, this part, this, you know, that. I'm not that familiar with that, because the idea of playing with a computer on stage is quite alienating to me. I'm an old school, a real amp guy. And then here is, you know, kind of oversampling stuff. I didn't use any of them. And here is the artificial doubler. This is really wide. Almost like, you know, head turns to like this and dogs are barking. It's a bit too wide for me. My head goes like, damn. But it's kind of cool, maybe if you're jamming with headphones, so you get this really wide sound. And here is a manual, you know, if you want to check it out. Really simple, self-explanatory, and just your, you know, some settings and stuff. And the output meter. Okay, enough yapping. Let's go through my presets. So there's factory presets here. Then you can obviously save your own presets. So this what we're using now is my Marshall basic preset. And then let's go to the 5150. That's 5152. What I have there, and it's a bit brighter than my 5150 too, because, you know, all tube sounds are different. But in general, it's very much like a 5152. And with this one, I'm using 808 screamer, like I use with my real 5150s. The cabinet, I like the recto 2x12 on this one. Nothing in the post. Okay, then my crown, I don't think I used this on a song. This is, I believe, Mesa Boogie's Triple Crown. Cool, and the califier cabinet. Then this one I dialed quite a bit darker sound. It's kind of this full. A bit more gain than on the others. It's really. And then Sigma Basic. Kind of martial vibe, a bit different. I like it a lot. Then I did one, this Plexi lush clean sound. There I have all the SDs off, chorus in front, like I use with real gear. Kind of like chorus in front. This behaves like a real Plexi, because when I by rolling down the volume, switching different pickups, you get a large variety of tones. Cabinet I chose for this was the Britone BKS, the same mics, 57 and ribbon mic is my go-to usually. And then I have a little bit of delay and reverb here also. Whatever, balls love. Yeah, that's the amp locker in short, I think I covered pretty much everything there is, except not all the amps and pedals, because there is a lot. Conclusion. I think, at least in my experience, these plugins are starting to be really realistic. Yes, I started with analog gear. When I started, there was, I don't think even a word plugin or amp sim existed. And I remember when the first ones came, they were horrible. So I still use my real amps mainly. Sometimes in mixing I've used plugins, but 99% when I record and mix and do stuff, it's real gear. But I think this is really cool for songwriting and whatnot. And if you don't have the possibility in always to own huge amount of amps, this amp plugger is a great way to get into the amps. Or if you're thinking like that you want to have a tube amp, maybe you're a bit younger and you have started in this modern era, unlike me, and you maybe want to have a tube amp, this is also a really cool way to try out different amps, because these are pretty realistic. At least you get a picture of what kind of amp is like a Marshall JCM 800 or 5152 or Plexi or Triple Crown. So in that sense, it's really good. And if you have not grown with tube amps, these are probably just fine, because to me there's always a tiny bit of latency. I feel it, especially when I'm playing fast. It's like it can't follow. I mean, I have a really powerful computer, and in general the latency has gone really down, because back in the day it was almost at least impossible to me to play with plugins. Nowadays I can actually play with them. I'll survive, but I prefer real amps because there's no latency, because there's no computer. Well, obviously there's a little bit, because when I record, you know, the signal goes to cabinets, back to mic pre to ADDA conversion, but it's so little that I don't notice. But with this one, like with this plugin, like with any plugin, first I'm like, then I'm getting used to it. Okay, it's more to me like, okay, this amp is just a little bit slower to react to my playing. But that's just me, and that's just because I was born in the 70s. I grew up with real amps. Hey, hopefully you found this interesting and informative. Thanks for watching. You know, if you like, you know, thumbs up. Please hit the subscribe button. You know the drill. Until next time, take care. Bye.